Hello, my dear students. Today, we will organize the project structure and add a touch of beauty. Take a look over here. What a mess we have here. If we continue like this, the devil himself will break both legs here in a couple of lessons. I suggest putting all the trees in a separate folder. To do this, we need to select them. Let's also learn a couple of techniques for selecting groups of objects along the way. Select any tree. Open the Select menu. Then choose Select Linked. And in it, select Object Data. Since all our trees were duplicated using Alt-D and reference the same data, they will all be selected. Now, all that's left is to move them to a separate folder. The quickest way is to press the M key, and since the folder for the trees has not been created yet, choose New Collection. Let's name it Trees and press the OK button. That's it. Now, in the outliner, we can collapse the folder, making it look much nicer. I'll go back and show you another way to tidy things up. This time, we drag the cursor to the outliner and create a new folder. To do this, first, you need to select the root directory so that the new folder appears within it. Click on the New Collection button. Scroll to the end of the list and find the new folder. Rename it to Trees. Now, let's select all the trees without leaving the outliner. Scroll to the beginning of the list, click on the first object, then scroll down again. While holding down the Shift key, click on the last copy of the tree. All objects in between will also be selected. Now, simply drag this selected list with the left mouse button and drop it into the new folder. Done. Now, I suggest renaming the collection folder to something like Camera and Lights. Let's keep only the camera and lights in it. As for the ground, let's move it to the root. Grab the object, drag it to the root directory, and release it. We're done with the folders for now. To make the lesson more interesting and prevent it from being too short and dull, let's add a character and teach it to crawl. In the outliner, select the root directory. To ensure the new object appears within it and not somewhere with the trees, switch to the viewport. Press Shift-A. And we are adding a cube. Let's name it Player. I suggest scaling it exactly by half, down to the size of the texture grid. Press S, 0.5, enter. Now, let's lift it exactly half a meter to make it stand on the ground. To do this, you can press G, Z, 0.5, enter sequentially. Press Ctrl A. Apply the scale. Next, go to the Material Properties and create a material for it, named Player. Choose a green color or any other color, as long as it's associated with your character. Now, let's write some code. We'll be coding exclusively using nodes. This way, we'll spare beginners from turning their brains into instant jelly. So, open the lower window wider, about half the screen or more, or even the whole screen if you prefer. If you don't have any window at the bottom, it means you closed it. You'll have to open it again. Drag the cursor to one of the lower corners. Aim for the position where the cursor turns into a crosshair. Grab it and drag it upwards. Now, in this window, you need to open the Logic Node Editor. Don't confuse it with the Geometry Node Editor. These are completely different editors. Now we need to create our first logic branch. Click on the New button. In this logic branch, we will create a simple control for the character. Just to understand how it works, let's give the branch a clear name. For example, Player Input. Let's agree right away that all logic branch names should start with a capital letter. I don't know why, but it's important. Now, place the cursor in the lower window, press Shift-A. Open the Input section and select the keyboard option. Place the created block on the floor, increase the scale, and take a closer look at it. In the lower list, we can choose the key whose press will activate the block and pass the control signal from the output to the next blocks. Let's choose W. You can select alphabet letters in two ways. The first method is slow and boring. Open the list, look for the desired letter, and click on it with the mouse. The second method is quick and fun. Open the list and press the keyboard key for the desired letter. In the upper list, you can choose the mode for key triggering. By default, we can see the down mode. This means that if the key is pressed, the control signal is constantly transmitted at a rate of 60 times per second until the key is released. If you switch the block to started mode, the key will only trigger once when pressed. To trigger it again, you'll have to release it and then press it again. This mode is more suitable for training your index finger rather than smoothly moving the character, so we'll leave the block in down mode. We need to move the cube forward. All blocks related to transformation are, strangely enough, found in the transform section. The best choice for moving an object will be the translate object block. Place it nearby and connect the blocks. To do this, hover the cursor over the output socket, grab it, pull out the cable, connect it to the input socket, and release it. Now, when the key is pressed, the translate object block will be triggered. Let's understand how it works. In the object field, we should specify the object that we want to move. But in this specific case, you can leave this field empty, which will mean that we will move the object to which this logic branch is attached. Since we'll attach it to the cube, an empty object field will indicate that we are referring to the owner of this code, which is the cube. The next three fields with numbers are responsible for the distance by which the object will be displaced along each of the three axes separately. The last parameter switches the transformation from global axis to local axis. Let's take a close look at the cube and determine along which axis we will move our cube when the W key is pressed. The simplest way to understand the directions is to enable the gizmo. Now, we can see that to move forward, we need positive values on the y-axis. The y-axis is represented by the second row. Let's try entering a value there, like 0.01. Now, let's run the game and see how everything works. You can start the game in three ways: by clicking on the button here, or here, or simply by pressing the F5 key on the keyboard. After starting the game, we will realize that the key is not working and the cube is not moving. This is because the logic branch we created is not attached to the cube. We have the code, but the cube is unaware of it. So, let's return to the scene. Select the cube, go to the Object Properties, and find the Armor Trait section. Click the plus button to create a new slot. From the options that appear, select Nodes, and confirm with the OK button. Now, in the tree field, select the previously created logic branch, named Player Input. Now, the cube has no choice, and it will execute all the commands we write in this branch. Let's run the game again. Press the forward key and rejoice in our success. To add backward movement to the cube, simply copy these two blocks, change the key to S, and change the value to a -1. You can duplicate the blocks using the familiar Shift-D combination. If we want to add left and right movement, duplicate the blocks again, change the keys to A and D. Reset the values on the y-axis, and enter the same values on the x-axis. For leftward movement, the value should be negative, and for rightward movement, it should be positive. This is how quickly and easily In just a couple of clicks, you can set up character controls. Congratulations to everyone on your first line of code. And to make this programming lesson more traditional and classic, let's output the string Hello World to the console. Add another keyboard block. Keep the space key and switch it to started mode. Now, get the print block from the native section and connect it to the space key. In the string field, type Hello World. To see the result, you need to open the system console. You can do this in the Windows menu by selecting Toggle System Console. After starting the game, you need to arrange both windows so that you can see them both and make the game window active by clicking on it with the mouse. If the window is not active, keyboard inputs won't be recognized. So, all that's left is to press the spacebar. After doing so, you will see the Hello World string in the console. Each new press will output the string again and again. That's where we'll stop. Don't get bored. Bye for now.